Hey guys, Mr. T is back with another highlighted update for you about Black History Month and Black culture. This post actually comes from something I saw on Instagram while scrolling through a couple of days ago, and it's from the account We The Urban. And here's what the post says. Blues came from Black culture, jazz came from Black culture, rock and roll came from Black culture, funk, soul, hip-hop, disco, house, techno, jungle, drum and bass, garage, grime, and dubstep all came from Black culture. It closes out by saying the next time you listen, remember where it came from. Remember where it came from. I'm highlighting this post today because today we're going to learn about musical genres. A genre, of course, is a style of music that also applies to literature or anything with reading. There's different genres of writing. It's also different genres of music. So we're going to take a look at a few of these styles of music, these few genres, and tell you some of the origins of how they came to be. Alright guys, so we're going to first talk about the blues. If you are a Quaver subscriber and use it in your classroom, this is a great way to use this resource. And there's tons of stuff in the Quaver lesson about blues that tells you the background, the history. Your kids are working on the blues, creating their own blues song. There's so many templates in there for you to do that. And we've also had our lesson on this channel as well that talks to you about the 12-bar blues and everything that goes along with it. So when we look at the post and we know that blues comes from Black culture, one of the things is blues music is based on spirituals. And when we look at a spiritual, we know that a spiritual is a traditional African American religious song. Looking at content-wise, we know that bars is how we organize the music. And then, as I mentioned before, the 12-bar blues is the traditional structure of a blues song. And last but not least, the blues scale is a set of notes that's improvised with the blues scale. So when you talk about the blues, one of the big origins is that blues comes from spirituals. Spirituals originated way back in the time of slavery, where slaves were singing songs talking about praising God, things we can do for us to be able to overcome, to do the best that we could to make our life better for ourselves. So, blues comes from Black culture.
I wanna rock and roll all night and party every day. Da, 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 da. Just kidding. But we're talking about rock and roll as it comes from Black culture. So I'm going to read this to you from Britannica.com about rock and roll, the early style of rock music, and the link will be shown right here. Rock and roll has been described as a merger of country music and rhythm and blues, R&B. But if it were that simple, it would have existed long before the burst into the national consciousness. The seeds of the music have been in place for decades, but they flowered in the mid-1950s when nourished by a volatile mix of Black culture and white spending power. Black vocal groups such as the Dominoes and the Spaniels began combining gospel-style harmonies and call-and-response singing with earthy subject matter and aggressive rhythm and blues. Heralding this sound were disc jockeys, DJs such as Alan Freed, Dewey Phillips, and William Allen, all from Tennessee and Ohio. They were ones who created the rock and roll radio by playing hard-driving rhythm and blues and raunchy blues records that introduced white suburban teenagers to the culture that sounded more exotic, thrilling, and illicit than everything they had ever known. Have you heard of Chubby Checker? I have. I love teaching about Chubby Checker. There's even a lesson I've done about him along with other rock and roll, soul, and blues artists. But did you know that Chubby Checker was an African-American rock and roll artist? Let's find out what his music sounds like and what some facts are about Chubby Checker. Do the twist.
the interest of time, we'll look at one more genre today, known as dubstep. Taking a look at the genre of dubstep, this source says dubstep is a genre of electronic dance music that originated in South London in the late 1990s, characterized by syncopated beats, rhythms, and sub-bass frequencies. One of the other pieces we see here that it is based on related styles such as dub reggae, jungle, and grime. Now, we all know that Wikipedia is not the most reliable source, so let's go fact check this. As it continues to grow, it's vital to understand the black roots of the genre we know and love. We're fact checking, going over to edmidentity.com. You can see the author of this article here, posted on June 5th, 2020. And what I want to highlight from this article comes from right here. Jamaica, home of the bass. In 1968, a Jamaican ska band called Toots and the Maytals released a song called Do the Reggae, drawing inspiration from both ska and American R&B tradition. Reggae soon became to known as reggae, spelled differently, the quintessential sound of Jamaican people. Drums, steady beats, and vocals in the Jamaican patois dialect helped reggae to skyrocket in popularity. By the early 1970s, Bob Marley and the Wailers had burst on the scene with hits like Get Up, Stand Up, and Stir It Up, taking reggae to new international heights. Meanwhile, a new branch of reggae known as dub began to gain traction. With more emphasis on electronic sounds, artists like Lee Scratch Perry and Errol Thompson gained popularity for manipulating existing reggae records with studio effects like reverb and delay. In 1978, the Roland Audio Company released the first version of the Space Echo, which allowed artists to use echo and delay on live music. As dub and reggae began to intersect, by the end of the 1970s, a new craze appeared in Jamaica, dancehall. So when we say that dubstep comes from black culture, we know that black culture is very prominent in Jamaica. So we're making that connection there, and of course fact-checking our other sources, telling us again the origins of dubstep, the music that we know today. The next time you listen, remember where it came from. Thanks so much for joining us today on Music with Mr. T. I have had loads of fun exploring these different genres and styles of music, and there are many, many, many more that we did not highlight in this video, but you have the list so that you can go back and do your own research and share out this information with anybody you come in contact with. So remember, check the post and do your research and find out all that you can about all genres of music, especially the ones that come from our black culture. So, again, the next time you listen, remember where it came from. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for watching. Make great music, make great musicians, and enjoy your day. Bye-bye now.